Please welcome Paul LeClaire, member of the Teachers College Board of Trustees.
Is this not totally awesome? Good afternoon. I'm Paul LeClaire, and I represent the great Board of Trustees of Teachers College, and I have the very, very high honor of officially opening this most memorable and totally spectacular ceremony. On behalf of the entire Teacher College community, I welcome you to the 2017 Doctoral Hooding Ceremony. It is now my very, very great pleasure to introduce the incomparable president of Teachers College, Susan Furman.
Thank you. Good afternoon. What a joyous occasion. I told some of you if I have to remember not to put bobby pins in my hat so I can take my hat off to you, doctoral candidates, because this is just fantastic. We are so proud to honor the talented women and men who've already achieved so much and in other ways are just getting started. Please join me in congratulating the 2017 doctoral candidates of Teachers College. Graduates, let's hear it for those who helped you make it to this day, our incomparable faculty. Our dedicated staff who keep us on track, fed, safe, and well-maintained. And let's all show our appreciation to your families and partners for their love, encouragement, and support. This is a special thrill for me because when I was a doctoral candidate here, exactly 40 years ago, well, we did not, I just realized it's exactly 40 years ago, we did not have a hooding ceremony, and I've always thought that hooding was a particularly powerful image of joining the full-fledged ranks of academia. It's also a joy to see so many children here. When I started my TC degree, I had a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, and when I finished 5 years later, I had another 1-year-old. So I know exactly what it is. I encourage you to bring them up on stage when you come get your degree. And we all share with you the joys of having both such an important accomplishment and a wonderful family. Graduates, you now join the ranks of our doctoral alumni who are leaders in education, psychology, and health. Like them, you now have great power. You have the power to reshape and energize the learning, caring, and research environments where you work. You have the power to produce groundbreaking research, pedagogies, and evidence-based policies and solutions. You have the power to build new bridges of understanding and productive engagement with diverse communities and cultures throughout the world. You have the power to improve productivity and performance at organizations. And you have the power to lead the revolution in educational technology to benefit learners of all ages. And like our alumni, you are dedicating your lives and careers to the pursuit of social justice, a TC tradition that literally goes back to our founder 130 years ago, Grace Hoadley Dodge. Grace Dodge was among the leaders of a growing movement in the late 19th century to provide educational and social opportunities for low-income and marginalized populations. Like her contemporary Jane Addams, who founded settlement houses where people from different socioeconomic backgrounds could share ideas and information, Grace was bound and determined to improve the lives of struggling families. It was her unique vision to establish a college that would prepare teachers to work with immigrant students and their families who had recently fled poverty, war, and prejudice, and were still encountering xenophobia and economic peril. It was also Grace Dodge's brilliance to recognize the need for a new kind of educator, one with the skills, cultural understanding, and self-awareness to address immigrants' educational, health, and psychological needs. Armed with this deeper knowledge, this new type of educator could help immigrants in their communities achieve economic mobility and social equality. Thanks to Grace Dodge, Teachers College quickly became a force for increasing educational opportunity and a path to greater social justice. As more populations gained a foothold in society, thanks to institutions like TC, it became more essential for educators to teach the rights and responsibilities of citizenship. And the teaching of civics became commonplace in American classrooms through much of the 20th century. Helped by TC icons like Harold Rugg, founder of the National Council for the Social Studies, students were taught to think critically, to make knowledgeable judgments about political and social issues, and to analyze and weigh the statements of journalists, politicians, and policymakers. They were encouraged to participate in constructive and respectful debate, to consider opposing viewpoints, to vote, and even to consider running for office. They were taught about how the U.S., a nation of immigrants, has from time to time encountered and then marginalized waves of nativism. They were taught that basic rights are guaranteed for all, not just for those who triumph at the ballot box. Sadly, over the years, an ever narrower focus on testing math and reading skills has squeezed civics out of the curriculum almost entirely. But we shouldn't romanticize the past. For the 20th century, we condoned legal and then de facto segregation. It's clear that the civics of old did not confront racial and cultural stereotyping and biases that persist today. When we reflect on recent and current events, from violence against people of color, women, and LGBT individuals, to the prevalence of fake news and the divisiveness of our political climate, we must conclude that the time has come to revive civic education for today's multicultural, multiracial, multi-ethnic, digital society. And this time, the lessons of critical thinking, civil dialogue, and public engagement must go hand in hand with an unshakable commitment to confront prejudice and discrimination and to secure safety, opportunity, and equality for all. Oh, you can clap again. As the largest and best school of education in the world, some would say universe, but now we have to say in the multiverses, TC is up to the challenge. We have launched a major civic education initiative to redesign, reinvigorate, and reestablish civic education for the 21st century. Faculty from across departments have been coming together to plan a series of projects from pre-K to post-secondary, from professional development to digital literacy programs. Graduates, we're proud of the ways you've contributed to ideas for this initiative and to TC's role in advancing civic education more generally. And we know that you're well prepared to keep challenging, reimagining, and changing the ways our schools and education and institutions work to produce kind, thoughtful, and engaged citizens. We have faith in the future because we've already seen you promote civic education in at least 3 distinct ways. First, you've promoted it at TC, beginning with your calls for more robust discussions on how to educate responsibly about race, gender, and class. For example, through our Racial Literacy Roundtable series, you participated in discussions on topics such as global collaboration through new classroom media, the value of generating youth activism, and the power of personal narrative. Through our Civic Participation Project, you help organize conversations, cultural events, safe spaces, and podcasts for the exchange of multiple perspectives on social justice and on youth well-being in our schools and communities. And many of you were instrumental in categorizing 6 courses across the college through a race, ethnicity, and intercultural understanding curriculum map. This map is helping guide TC students as they think about race and diversity from multiple perspectives and disciplines. The second way you've promoted civic education is through your contributions to the teaching and research enterprise. All great institutions of higher learning do research. What sets Teachers College apart is also what sets you apart. You've been co-investigators and co-authors on groundbreaking research aimed directly at addressing the world's most challenging problems, particularly those that fall hardest on marginalized, vulnerable, and disadvantaged citizens and populations. You've contributed to faculty research on so many issues, problems, and phenomena. They include race-based traumatic stress, teaching methods for inclusive classrooms, higher education funding, probability problem-solving strategies, the use of science teaching to improve the health of urban teens, the effect of exercise on efforts to quit drinking and smoking, learning agility, emotional resilience, the effect of poverty on brain development, the adaptation of interpersonal therapy to help populations afflicted by war, refugee crises, pandemics, or natural disasters, and the creation of public policies that promote positive outcomes in education and health. Your dissertation titles include the career development of Latino immigrant youth, racial literacy in the college composition classroom, learning to govern, student police cadets, and the making of democratic citizens in Kerala, India. Muslim American female immigrants' interpretation of English education experiences, religiosity and modern prejudice. Do the right thing, exploring ethical decision-making in financial institutions. The third way you've promoted civic education is through your own individual work. Take Cristina Salazar Gallardo, who is receiving her doctorate in mathematics, science, and technology. Cristina came to TC as a Fulbright Scholar in 2009 to study for a master's in communications. She was the first in her extended family to leave their small town in Mexico. Days before Cristina received her master's in 2011, the US Senate reintroduced the DREAM Act, a bill that proposed an easier path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants or dreamers. Around the same time, Cristina became aware of videos posted online by dreamers coming out as undocumented and sharing their stories. She admired their bravery, but wanted to know why they were willing to put themselves at such personal risk for deportation or worse. To find out, she scrapped her plans to return to Mexico and applied for her doctorate instead. Christina's work focuses on the concept of informal mentorship among dreamers. She conducted a long-term study of how undocumented college students navigate their experiences and build support and resilience via social media and online tools. Being undocumented is incredibly isolating, she said. Community reduces shame. Cristina will return to Mexico to conduct research, develop curriculum, and provide leadership training for principals in low-income communities. Her goal is to put in place cross-national policies to help educators support immigrants, deportees, and anyone with transnational identity. I need to show the world what I learned and remove the stigma, she said. Thank you, Cristina, for your vision, determination, and courage. We also expect great things from Deidre Flowers, who is receiving her doctorate in history and education. Deidre is the recipient of our Lawrence A. Kremen History of Education Scholarship, named for the Pulitzer Prize-winning historian and former president of Teachers College, who argued that every family, every place of religious worship, every employer, every cultural institution, every medium, and every organization plays a role in improving people's minds and creating equal opportunities for learning. As a graduate of one of the nation's more than 100 historically black colleges and universities, or HBCUs, Deidre learned how important these institutions have been in advancing the careers and lives of Black Americans. She became interested in shedding new light on their under-researched and undervalued history, including their role in civic activism and change. She chose to study this history at Teachers College, knowing that TC had prepared generations of segregation-era Black teachers, counselors, and administrators from Southern states that would not accept African Americans at institutions of higher education. Deidre was especially interested in the important role women have played at HBCUs and in the civil rights movement. She wrote her dissertation on Bennett College for Women in Greensboro, North Carolina, where students fought segregation in movie theaters during the 1930s and helped to lead the famed lunch counter sit-ins in 1960. Deidre will continue to explore and teach the rich tradition of Black and female civic engagement as a higher education administrator and scholar. She's not taking any breaks. Tomorrow, she begins teaching a TC summer course on the history of education in the United States. Congratulations and thank you, Deidre. Graduates, we eagerly await breakthroughs from the important work all of you are doing in pursuit of social justice and advancing civic education. All of you will have a hand in changing the trajectories of the lives you touch for the better, and they will change you. Why? Because the diplomas you leave with today stand for more than a resolve to confront what is wrong in our society and to make it right. They're also a summons for you to continue to deepen your knowledge and your understanding of the students you teach, their culture, their experiences, their realities, so you can work with them to achieve brighter futures. The challenges confronting our society are daunting, but my faculty colleagues and I are optimistic about the future because we have taken the full measure of your talents, integrity, and fitness to become leading thinkers, educators, advocates, professionals, and scholars. We are confident that individually and collectively, you will make the greatest possible difference in the world, and that you will both be and create outstanding citizens in the course of your work. You will reinvigorate the civic purpose of education, psychology, and health. This is your time. Keep bright the chain of social justice that started for all of us at TC's founding. Congratulations. We have now reached the moment in this ceremony when we honor an extraordinary individual whose life's work has advanced the cause of education while upholding TC's core mission to foster excellence and equity in the fields we serve. This year, we honor 4 preeminent scholars and practitioners: Jacqueline Woodson, Melissa Fleming, Modov Shavan, and Khalil Gibran Muhammad. I'm pleased to welcome TC Professor Michelle Knight-Manuel, joined by Provost Tom James, to introduce Khalil Gibran Muhammad. Thank you.
It is my distinct pleasure to invite our medalists, Khalil Gibran Muhammad, to join us at the podium. Khalil Gibran Muhammad. The late John Hope Franklin believed that the historian is the conscience of the nation. The philosopher George Santayana warned that those who do not remember the past are doomed to repeat it. Together, they describe your tireless efforts to reveal the interplay of racism and racial injustice and to halt the ongoing disenfranchisement of African Americans. You have brilliantly revealed how racism and injustice are woven into our society's fabric. Your landmark book, The Condemnation of Blackness, Race, Crime, and the Making of Modern Urban America, meticulously traces the white urban North's use of crime, migration, and immigration data to mythologize Black Americans as a violent and dangerous other. At once a journalistic classic and an indictment of biased paradigms and assumptions of social science research, The Condemnation of Blackness is a model of scholarship in the service of social justice. In leading the New York Public Library's Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture, you demonstrated that history and social science can hold society accountable for its actions and shape positive change. At Harvard, you are investigating the absence of scholarly efforts to quantify crime by white Americans, inquiry that could counter unfounded stereotypes and balance our criminal justice system. And in celebrating TC's Minority Postdoctoral Fellowship, you called for more creative dissent and less cosmetic diversity in academia itself. Now, following Barack Obama's presidency, you have pronounced the dawn of post-assimilation America. There is no office in the land, you write, to which an African American can ascend that will serve as a magical platform for saving Black people and our nation's soul from its racist past. Rather, you assert, we must confront structural racism and the values of our institutions. We must all, you argue, examine our perpetuation of a system that continues to defy the bending of the moral arc of the universe for now. Khalil Gibran Muhammad for inventing a new scholarship of social justice, for mapping where we stand on the path to racial equality, and for calling us all to the hard task of self-scrutiny. We proudly award you the Teachers College Medal for distinguished service.
Thank you. Where's the band when you need it? When I heard the sounds of those brass instruments, I thought about Bruno Mars and wondered if he might be skipping down the aisle. What a joyous day, nevertheless. To Teachers College Board of Trustees, led by co-chairs John Hyland and William Ruckert, to President Susan Furman, to Provost Tom James, to Professor Michelle Knight-Manuel, who just introduced me, to all the amazing faculty, administrators, and staff, thank you for the honor of this prestigious award and for the opportunity to address the Teachers College Doctoral Class of 2017. To the graduates, I know what it feels like to have started something that felt at times like an impossible journey. To the parents and grandparents, I know what it means from watching my own to question and wonder if your big kid was up to the task. So take another collective moment on your last day as a cohort to acknowledge all of your accomplishments. Now, tomorrow the real work begins, and it isn't just about getting jobs or starting jobs with your newly minted or printed doctorates. The real work is about putting on your big girl pants and meeting the challenges we face in this world. Before I forget, also let me thank my parents and my sister Pilar, and my family, including my wife Stephanie, and my daughter Justice, who are supporting me here today. All right, we won't get through this if you keep applauding. I've been thinking a lot about how to define those challenges in order to address them. So I want to share with you for a few moments what I've come up with. Let me start with a big idea. What if we thought about education as universal health care? I know that part of becoming an expert in the field is knowing which peg goes into which hole. Healthcare and education are not the same. But what if we thought about them in relation to one another in a more intentional way? Many of you have heard that there is a measles outbreak in Minneapolis. There are 48 confirmed cases, and nearly all are Somali American children under 10, 45 of whom were not vaccinated. In any given state, annually, there are 1 or 2 confirmed cases, just to illustrate the dire nature of this crisis. So what happened? Turns out that within this population, the largest in the United States, there is tremendous misinformation about the link between vaccinations and autism. The fear of autism isn't just within this community. Recent outbreaks among unvaccinated children have happened in Disneyland and a Texas megachurch. So what about other, less obvious connections between education and healthcare, where things aren't so immediate or predictable? Social psychologists have made great strides identifying how powerful implicit bias is in perpetuating institutional discrimination against all sorts of people, from the impoverished or the disabled to gender non-conforming and people of color. Remember the Yale study a few months ago that found discrimination among teachers of preschool-age Black boys? Health researchers have documented that the toll discrimination takes, often in the form of microaggressions, creates an elevated stress level and raises blood pressure. In a nutshell, a sick society makes people sick. So what's your role, graduates? In your various fields, you're going to train the teachers to teach our students how to take their place in the world, presumably to make a healthier society. But what if we've reached a moment in our history when making us a healthier society is too costly? I mean, after all, if the Affordable Care Act is too costly to a majority of politicians in Washington, why should we be surprised that education might be too costly as well? Our new Secretary of Education wants to bring private sector efficiencies to our public schools, right? So notice how easily my question presupposes that cost should drive who learns and ultimately who lives. Teachers College's own John Dewey reminds us that a society with too few independent thinkers is vulnerable to control by disturbed and opportunistic leaders. A society which wants to create and maintain a free and democratic social system must create responsible independence of thought among its young. The assumption that cost is the best arbiter of value in society is gospel today, not a choice. It is a new gospel of wealth for the public sector. It is not subject to the scrutiny of independent thought, certainly not on any scale I recognize. Let me be clear. The goal here is not to conscript every student and every citizen to social justice and human rights work. The goal here is to build a new foundation of shared values and collective memory, because the foundation we have is flawed. Its cracks and fissures are irreversible. Think of it like this. As a New Jersey transit commuter, the pending infrastructure crisis that faces the Hudson River tunnels will eventually paralyze the region. It could not be a more apt metaphor for the perils we face as a nation within a global community. It is beyond time to rebuild. We are way beyond the half-life of American exceptionalism 1.0. I don't believe we can solve any of our problems in any enduring way based on the old origin story. Everything will be fragile and short-lived, subject to the whims and caprice of those who control the market of ideas, of real estate, of our transportation networks, of the financial sector, of electoral politics. So here's what I propose. I want your help writing a new origin story for this nation. I don't mean a fat book or series of lectures or a screenplay that Steven Spielberg might option for an epic film. I mean a revised civic lesson on the model that President Furman has already begun. A new meta-narrative, something on a scale never attempted in the country to revise American exceptionalism, the kind we've all been taught. The good news is Teachers College has already committed itself to this work, but you're leaving. So remember, practically speaking, how do we take 50 years of social history from the margins of our K through 16 educational system and put it at the center? This isn't just about Howard Zinn's People History of the United States, though I'll take that over what is currently taught. This is about committing ourselves to historical and humanistic literacy that draws on advances in historical reasoning, archival evidence, and literary analysis that reflects what we have learned over a half century. Too often we treat history like it is an opinion. I've served on national and local committees to solve this problem or that, and I've watched educated people evoke their own experience as historical proof. We all have opinions, but we are not all historically literate, never mind fluent. The same problem of climate change denial holds in how most Americans think about our past. We at least give economists and environmentalists a chance to shake our beliefs. Historians, not so much. Admittedly, there is no trans-ideological view of the past. The questions we ask, the evidence we seek, the data we collect, the frames we choose, the audiences we write for and against all make history messy. These biases make our empirical work messy too, despite the ubiquity of big data and transcendent claims of objectivity. But that messiness is exactly what we have to wrestle with at the earliest possible age if our citizens are to be global humanists, if they are to see themselves in a larger story where they have agency, where they make choices, and where they may choose to minimize inequality and maximize health as a moral or ethical imperative. The former editor of Harper's Magazine, Louis Lapham, wrote a few years ago in the magazine that there is an increasingly illiterate populace to be as poorly informed about American history as they are about the history of ancient Egypt or modern Uzbekistan. 76% of college graduates unfamiliar with the Bill of Rights, 73 respondents unable to identify America's antagonists during the 4 decades of the Cold War. He said Americans have a wonderful talent for what he called grand simplification. Why then argue for uses of history other than the ones that sponsor election campaigns, blow the bubbles on Wall Street, underwrite the nation's wars? Here we are 63 years to the day on the anniversary of the Supreme Court decision in Brown versus Board of Education. But in 2011, the Southern Poverty Law Center found that in a sample of 12,000 high school seniors, only 2% could identify correctly the answers to a 2-part question. What was Brown versus Board, and why does it matter? They also noted that 16 states require no teaching of civil rights history, 19 others did so little that they graded them as failures, and only 3 were considered model states. In 1948, the great Harvard-trained historian and sociologist W.E.B. Du Bois told a room full of black men, people he called the talented 10th, his Sigma Pi Phi or Boule brothers, that they must choose personhood over profit if they were to help improve the conditions of African Americans. The same message, unfortunately, still applies. Nearly 60 years later, the journalist Ellis Coase analyzed the mood of Black America on the topic of race relations in the opening months of the Obama presidency. He held focus groups, did extensive interviewing, and mined available polling research to understand how 3 generations of African Americans saw the future. His 2 groups were Black Harvard Business School alumni and graduates of A Better Chance, a preparatory and pipeline to elite boarding school program for promising underprivileged youth. These are the same people today who were the target audiences for W.E.B. Du Bois so many decades ago. But the key insight of Ellis Coase's work came in an appendix. Black Harvard Business School alumni's 10 rules for success, and here I offer 4. Rule number 1, you can only go so far as your networks will take you. Rule number 4, embrace self-discipline and perseverance as virtues. All traits of character demonstrated here today by our graduates. Rule number 7, cultivate people who are more powerful and important than yourself. Rule number 10, never talk about race or gender if you can avoid it, other than to declare that race or gender does not matter. Isn't rule number 10 the grandest of simplifications? This isn't just about Black people, to be sure. The problem of historical illiteracy widens inequality in every direction. Because you see, Blackness is at the foundation of this nation's very conception of freedom, of liberty, of property, of democracy. The institution of slavery wasn't a bump on the road, to quote Ta-Nehisi Coates. It was the road. Slavery not only degraded black people, it degraded the humanity of whites. These institutions made some rich and subsidized the social mobility of many other whites, but slavery made no one a better person. And it sickened all of us to the point of a devastating war that is still playing out in the hearts and minds, in the halls of government, and on the streets of New Orleans today. Channeling the late historian John Hope Franklin, glad he's already been evoked, Harvard President Drew Faust wrote in a New York Review of Book essay, Race and the Meaning of America, that fundamental to the task at hand would be rewriting the history of history, revising the hallowed falsehoods, illustrating how the abuse and misuse of history served to legitimate systems of oppression, not just in the past, but in the present as well. Until we have a new history, we cannot build a different and better future, Faust states. It is history that has the capacity to save us. After all, this is about my children, your children, our students especially. This is about the world we will help build with them. We can't fix inequality if we rear children to value inequality. The writer Junot Diaz told me that from teaching at MIT, those very learned students, he's learned that history is our weakest muscle. He's right. If we invest and insist on the historical literacy of all our children, they will change our origin story, our narrative of inequality, of winners and losers, makers and takers. They will make political and economic decisions that value personhood over profit. In a recent essay, Margaret Atwood, author of The Handmaid's Tale, now a Hulu special series, writes that the control of women and babies has been a feature of every repressive regime on the planet. But she notes in writing The Handmaid's Tale that the act of writing is also an act of hope. Every recorded story, she says, implies a future reader. I'm inspired by her, and I hope you are too. I often see the frustration of people when I tell them that teaching our history as a moral, ethical, and what I consider to be a public health imperative is the best way forward. As a solution, history education lacks a certain kind of vigor or robustness or immediacy. It feels inadequate to the crisis of the moment. Literature and art, of course, serve the same function, though history is generally the starting point for great works of art. Still, I insist that this is the only way forward because it is all we have in an open society. Democracy requires us to accommodate opposition, including willful ignorance, intolerance, and the want of erasure or domination. Democracy must accommodate the will of the people, even if that will desecrates the spirit of democracy. A lesson, I'm afraid, only illustrates my point. The want of influence over the hearts and minds of others is humanity at its essence. It's why we are storytelling creatures. The right to petition, to free speech, to assembly are the tools of persuasion and the most cherished rights of our constitutional democracy. However, neither the political right nor the left should force people to think or do anything. The right to persuasion is one thing, just as the right to dissent is another. Both are sacrosanct. This means we are stuck living in a world where the lack of historical illiteracy and anti-intellectualism are far more potent forces for intolerance, bigotry, and anti-democratic impulses than anything a political party or authoritarian leader can impose on the American people. In other words, we imprison ourselves. Political elites of every stripe profit electorally and in their governance by this. Leaders only want to be questioned so much as it matches their political or legislative or administrative goals. There are, of course, exceptions. So we as parents or as first teachers must teach. We as professional teachers must educate. We as journalists must inform, and we as citizens must inquire. it is both the questioning and the curiosity in the end that will save us. As long as we keep talking, we aren't killing each other. Erasure and forgetting are far greater threats to our shared humanity than any act of force. Silence rewards ignorance and intolerance. Propaganda is a symptom of this greater problem, not a cause. Dr. King once said that the great evil of erasure, of forgetting the contributions of the Negro in America, was, in his own words, cultural homicide. He believed, as I do, that no struggle for civil rights, for human rights, could succeed in a transformative way without establishing, first, the former slaves' humanity. Without that, everything built on the shallow foundation of a so-called damaged people in need of fixing or reform or a new program or a better school or body cameras or mentoring would fail in the end. Pets can be trained and loved like human beings, but they can never be human. To recognize the slave or the sharecropper or the sales clerk or the formerly incarcerated as a human being is to recognize they are you. We are they. In every other Western democracy, that is, places whose cultural and political heritage informed the founding of this nation, the most basic belief that the least, the last, and the lost can never be collectively guilty, certainly since the Enlightenment, is true because the mass indictment would be an indictment of the nation. It would be mass criminalization, an act of collective self-destruction. The will for self-preservation is a universal desire to survive, to save oneself, one's family, one's kin, one's country. Years ago, I remember driving down Monument Boulevard in Richmond, Virginia. It was a summer trip from New Jersey to a small town about an hour south of the former Confederate capital. We were there to see an old friend from Indiana, where we had just moved from, who was getting married. My children were 5, 9, and 11 at the time. We toured the city block by block, noting the architecture, the parks, the extremes of wealth and poverty, but none of it compared to the horror of the monuments of Stonewall Jackson, Robert E. Lee, and the like. Come to think of it, wasn't Brown doomed to fail across the landscape of this great nation, covered in hundreds and hundreds of Confederate monuments? So the good news is those monuments are coming down. Those statues of hate and intolerance are being dismantled as we speak. That the lessons learned for the young people who make up so many social and racial justice movements unfolding right behind our eyes are the evidence of the good works that happen in our nation's classrooms. We just have to do more. We have to be more intentional. So go out, TC class of 2017, use your doctorate like a physician would. Make us all smarter and healthier. Thank you.
Please welcome Nicholas McBride, EDD candidate, Music and Music Education, Department of Arts and Humanities, conducting the Teachers College Chamber Singers.
Listen to what's in the heart of a child, a song so big in one so small. Soon you will hear where beauty lies. You'll hear and you'll recall the sadness, the doubt, all the loss, the grief will belong to some play from the past as the child leads the way to a dream, a belief, a time of hope through the land.
And now, the hooding of our graduates by Provost Thomas James. Department Chair William Gaudelli for the Department of Arts and Humanities.
Welcome all and congratulations, graduates. Today is so joyful, so resplendent, because these outstanding young people who are about to cross this stage are going to walk into history. We know they will make history because that's what we've always done at Teachers College, pressing social change to uplift children, families, and communities. These diverse scholars from the Department of Arts and Humanities represent a range of vital fields and are now deeply prepared to contribute to knowledge in art, music, philosophy, history, English, linguistics, and social studies. Their projects and research will surely invigorate and extend meaning and practice in all of these fields as they collectively build an educative society wholly worthy of that lofty description. These students are extraordinary philosophers, eloquent scholars, intrepid researchers, brilliant teachers, woke citizens, and preternatural forces of energy in the universe. And now, before I run out of superlatives for their wondrousness that they are, these doctoral graduates, let us meet them and rejoice in their great accomplishments and the many accomplishments that await us in their collective future. Congratulations. Deidre Flowers. Reshma Rumkalawan Artiaga. Nicole Elaine Avery.
You can read the next name.
Marisol Santa Ana. Marilee Grayson. Congratulations. Nicole Callahan. Karen Van Orman. Patrick Keegan. Jia Ling Lee. Adrian D'Angelo. Errol Gundas. Catherine Rosamond. Grant Tidaldi. Un Young Cog. Sarah Soak. Catherine Box. Timothy Hall. Sean Jackman. William Tonneson. Gregory Xavier Whitmore. Mildred Yee. Chao Wei Liu. Nicholas McBride. Katie De Los Rios. And Matthew Rochin. This concludes the hooding of the doctoral graduates of the Department of Arts and Humanities.
Department Chair Carol Ewing Garber for the Department of Biobehavioral Sciences.
On behalf of the Department of Biobehavioral Sciences and the faculty, I want to thank you for the honor and the privilege to mentor our doctoral candidates. And let me extend our heartfelt congratulations to our graduates and to their families on your incredible accomplishments. Our students in the Department of Biobehavioral Sciences are brilliant, bold, and spirited. The Department of Biobehavioral Sciences offers programs in communication sciences and disorders, physical education, movement sciences, kinesiology, and neuroscience in education. Our research focuses on the application of the biological, physiological, behavioral, cognitive, and sociocultural sciences underlying human communication, movement, and function to clinical, educational, and community settings. The scientific knowledge obtained from research in these specialized fields is applied to enhance the educational, functional, and communicative capabilities and health of disabled and non-disabled individuals of all ages and health status. Our doctoral graduates will go on to assume challenging research, academic, and professional roles in educational, clinical, governmental, non-governmental settings. Now, I am so very proud to introduce to you our superb doctoral graduates from the Department of Biobehavioral Sciences. Francino Porcia Kula. Jessica Obermeyer. Ghazala Salim. Kimberly Reha. Felicidad Garcia. Si Chao Shiyu. And that concludes the hooding of our doctoral candidates in biobehavioral sciences.
Department Chair Marie Maville for the Department of Counseling and Clinical Psychology.
Good afternoon. As you've heard today, our students are a very important part of who we are at Teachers College, Columbia University. The faculty in the Department of Counseling and Clinical Psychology hold dear the many roles we serve with our students as teachers, supervisors, research advisors, mentors, and now we are so proud to say, our colleagues and our peers. The graduates we are pleased to introduce to you today are going into the world with the many skills they need as professional psychologists, including being knowledgeable and innovative researchers, culturally competent practitioners, and strong community leaders and social justice advocates. And now, please share our pride and joy as we introduce to you our graduates. Veronica Johnson. Biagio Mastropieri. Luisa Bonifacio. Erica Rojas. Rebecca Reed. Peggy Liu. Asha Foster. Jacob Sawyer. Sydney Corin. Eleanor Cobb. Ruth Morin. Matthew Blanchard. Oscar Yan. Jennifer Lauderman. Congratulations, graduates. And that concludes the doctoral graduates of the Department of Counseling and Clinical Psychology. Thank you.
Professor Daniel Friedrich for the Department of Curriculum and Teaching.
Good afternoon. The ideas of education as a public good, of public schools as a cornerstone of a democratic society, of teachers as agents of social change, and of curriculum as inherently political, are unfortunately starting to seem like radical utopias. The research conducted by the 2017 graduates from the Department of Curriculum and Teaching reminds us of the importance of upholding these ideas in the face of, at times, overwhelming oppositions, both in the US and abroad. Their work challenges our understandings of social justice pedagogies, the role of memory and trauma in designing engaging spaces, the production of the democratic citizen, and teachers' lives and decision-making processes, among others. They also push us to act differently in the world. Please join me in recognizing these graduates and their contributions to critically complicating our ideas of teaching, learning, and schooling. Kathleen Golding. Marianne Chaco. Karin Gurasi. Deirdre Fahey. Estrella Olivares Orellana. Donna Thomas. Kiran Purohit. Jacqueline Lieber. Kara Hollins. Joshua Marks. Hannah Kai. Youngkyung Chong. Crystal Chen. Lydia Namatende Sakwa. Esther Ojiro. Lion Leong. And that concludes the hooding of the doctoral graduates of the Department of Curriculum and Teaching.
Department Chair Aaron Pallas for the Department of Education Policy and Social Analysis.
Good afternoon. The Department of Education Policy and Social Analysis studies the actions that governments take that influence our education system and the individuals and organizations who inhabit it. Our faculty and students draw on the disciplines of economics, political science, and sociology, and the tools of legal analysis to understand where policies come from, how they are implemented, and their effects, whether intended or unintended. Our graduates study early childhood education, K-12 schooling, and post-secondary education, both in the US and around the world. Here are the 2017 doctoral graduates from the Department of Education Policy and Social Analysis. Yi-Lin Pan. Lara Fiat. Jonelle Pratt-Williams. Elizabeth Kopko. Erez Lenchner. Barbara Harnish Serda. Vivian Yuanting Liu. Elizabeth Davidson Pisa-Krita. Hessa Altani. Ani Wang. That concludes the doctoral graduates of the Department of Education Policy and Social Analysis.
Department Chair Dolores Perrin for the Department of Health and Behavior Studies.
Good afternoon. The Department of Health and Behavior Studies consists of clusters of programs in health, applied educational psychology, and special education. Our collective mission is to improve the health, learning, and social well-being of children and adults in schools and other settings. On behalf of our department, I want to present to you the wonderful people who have worked so hard to earn their doctorates and appear before you today. And before I begin, I'd like to thank you, the parents, partners, relatives, and other persons for the invaluable support you have provided to help our students accomplish so much. Jody Falk. Vanessa Laurent Prophet. Michelle McKee. Emily Ruth Katz. Stephen Charles DeWolf. Joanne Duncan Carnashali. Laura Jasfi. Kelly Holtz. Claudia Santiferranti Fernandez. Amy Wolf. Alexis Branca Bancroft. Yoko Kodaira. Laura Ann Guerra. Christine Sullivan. Matthew Gracios. Ian Ong. Jong Min Lee. Priya Khurana. Chinara Tate. Naomi Arbit. Hershini Banabai. Kristen Couples Cooper. John Martin Green. Congratulations. Brett Burnham. Ian Levy.
Go Ian!
Anne Corney. Congratulations. Jared Stokes. Dawn Goodard Eckridge. Takia Sears. Ladrea Ingram. Z, thank you. Z Leon. Jolade Kalinowski. Colleen Comiskey Moore. Kelly Mercarella. Sarah Orlands. Chasira Farrell. Bianca Vasir. Frank Frias. Sadeh Alehan. And that concludes the hooding of the graduates of the Health and Behavior Studies Department.
Department Chair James Corder for the Department of Human Development.
Sorry, dramatic pause. Faculty and students in the Department of Human Development conduct research in many areas, including mathematics learning in preschool children, the acquisition of scientific reasoning skills, the role of gestures in thinking, and developing new testing methodologies designed to be educationally useful and appropriate. Today's doctoral graduates have conducted these projects and others equally interesting and important. Today, we congratulate and welcome them as new colleagues, researchers, and professionals who will continue to create new knowledge and apply it to improve the world. Fu Fan Feng. Lauren Fellers. William Crow. Yuan Wong. Janine DeFalco. Jenna Marks. Michael Short. Amma Owatri.
Department Chair Arve Vareen for the Department of International and Transcultural Studies.
The faculty of the Department of International and Transcultural Studies are proud to present our new peers. They come from all over the world, from Nigeria, Canada, Taiwan, among many others. And they went all over the world to tell us about the wonderful things human beings can do. They went to Tanzania, Congo, Colombia, India, Bulgaria, Silicon Valley, and down the streets in Manhattan. Together, they forward our mission to understand all education as a global process involving all of us on this earth, here and there, now and then. To analyze educational processes in their full economic, social, cultural, and linguistic context, and to develop and evaluate policies, curricula, and pedagogies reflective of these analyses and understandings, particularly in the most difficult settings like refugee camps, indigenous villages, and other places recovering from conflict and violence. And so I am proud for the opportunity to present to you Megan Shitzi. Megan Shitzi. Victor Yankee Sunta. Lisa Lefebvre. Elaine Christian. Marisol Vasquez Cuevas. Yandy Chang. Brian O'Hare. Alcira Jar. Emily Bishop. Emily Richardson. Sandra Sirota. Raisa Beliavina. Nicholas Stalin. Jude Nwachukwu. This concludes the doctoral graduates of the Department of International and Transcultural Studies.
Professor Erica Walker for the Department of Mathematics, Science, and Technology.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Chair, Roger Anderson, and the faculty of the Department of Mathematics, Science, and Technology, I congratulate our graduates and their families and friends. Our wonderful doctoral graduates hail from our 3 programs in mathematics education, science education, and communication, media, and learning technologies design.
That's right, baby. You did it. What's up? What's up?
Edmund Ajapong.
Yeah. Bronze, baby.
Alice Señeres. Lauren Serpagli.
Lauren.
Lisa Niesman. Alina Seibart Personaire. Laureen Bitzer. Nathaniel Stahl. Shireen Khan. Yuna Lyons. Haneen Al-Yassin. Philip Boda. Jason Wu. Centra Bernardo. Althea Horde.
That's right, Rob.
Robin Fleshman. Dale Dawes. Philip Adornato. Vincent Ballone. Raymond Houston.
Dr. Walker.
Dr. Walker. Robin Walker. Paul Aquaro. Edward Hallisey. Yes. Maria Wong. Cristina Salazar Gallardo. Myra Luna Lucero. Junhao Chang. Maria Cuadrado. Edward DePoe. Congratulations, graduates. That concludes the hitting of the doctoral graduates of the Department of Mathematics, Science, and Technology.
Department Chair William Baldwin for the Department of Organization and Leadership.
Good afternoon. The hooding of candidates from the Department of Organization and Leadership reflects their significant achievement in programs of study that include adult learning and leadership, education leadership, higher and post-secondary education, the nurse executive role, and social and organizational psychology. Across these programs, we have common values in which we link leadership and learning. Our faculty and students lead by helping others to learn and by keeping their own continued learning at the center of their leadership. We also recognize and celebrate the value of organizations with diverse members. Our faculty and students seek to create organizations and communities comprised of diverse individuals who will bring unique insights, questions, and interests to collective endeavor. And we understand, if my technology will cooperate, and we understand that the organizations and communities we serve must promote the common good. Our faculty and students conceive of leadership as an ethical imperative to act in ways that support our essential humanity, regardless of whether the organizations we serve are schools, colleges, hospitals, for-profit businesses, nonprofit organizations, branches of the military, or government agencies. On behalf of the faculty, students, and staff of the department, and as a doctoral graduate myself of one of the programs, I am both honored and privileged to present to you our 2017 doctoral candidates. Diane Lidena Ferraris. Regina Kim. Naomi Stutzman. Marianne Cicely Anna McLaughlin. This one I'm going to do. Vijay Budram Dayal. Lena Tai. Zukiswa Mitunde Kikana. Hi there, how are you? I think I'll get this one. Allison Gillespie. What a beautiful group. Are you guys all proud of your mommy? Okay. Christy De La Cruz. How are you doing? Congratulations. Good to be seen. Yeah. Frank Costanzo. Cecily Wilson Turner. Maurice Stinnett. Congratulations. Home Yuen. I think I got this one. Cindy Pace. Thank you. Sean McCann. Or just this? If you can. Yes. Maria Kaludis Papadakis. I think I got this. How are you doing? Ruth Gotian. Tina Stinson de Cruz. Rachel Victor. Elizabeth Rossini. Lucas Murphy. Pierre Fowler. Stefan Hendricks. Eustace Ramon Segre. Liza Bolitzer. How you doing? Raimunda Gabe. Anything to show off, right?
Show off?
How you doing, Steve?
Thank you.
Yep. Marianne Tremelli. And that concludes the doctoral graduates of the Department of Organization and Leadership.
Please join us in celebrating the class of 2017. Jeffrey Putman, President of the Teachers College Alumni Association.
Alumni. Let me try that again. Alumni. It is my distinct pleasure to formally welcome you into the Teachers College Alumni Association. As you stand here before this esteemed group, trustees, administrators, your faculty, family, and friends, and alongside your peers, we look on with great pride. Today, at this moment, you have joined our Alumni Association, a network of over 90,000 professionals, comprising alumni from all 10 academic departments and all walks of life and career stages, who have created this legacy which you are now a part of. Your fellow Teachers College alumni have truly made a global mark, shaping many fields of inquiry and practice. They have done so because of their tenacity, leadership, experience, and wisdom. They have also done so because of the people like the ones around you today, building solid support systems and a network of peer mentors. Many would argue that they have done so because of their Teachers College preparation. We know that you too will follow in these footsteps and make your own mark in your respective fields. Just as you occasionally needed some support throughout your time at TC, we know you will need similar resources as you embark on your careers. Look to Teachers College. I am here today to tell you how valuable your participation in your Alumni Association can be. We are colleagues and collaborators, supporters and challengers, mentors and mentees, and most importantly, we are your peers. What holds us all together is our alma mater, Teachers College. While everyone has had a slightly different journey, I am certain that no one's path leading to this time and place was free of challenges. I am also certain that along the way you found inspiration, insight, and joy. And many of you have developed what will be lifelong friendships. I encourage you to stay connected to your classmates and fellow graduates as you move forward in your careers, and to tap into the deep pool of expertise and knowledge offered by the broader TC community. We hope to see you at future alumni events, and we hope to feature you in future alumni newsletters. Please remember that you will always have a home and rich community at TC, which you can access physically and virtually. On behalf of your fellow alumni, we all wish you the best in your endeavors. Congratulations and welcome to the Alumni Association.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paul LeClaire.
On behalf of the entire Board of Trustees of Teachers College, I wish to congratulate each and every single one of you and all of you collectively for your extraordinary achievements that we have recognized this afternoon. We thank your families and your friends for joining us in such a noisy kind of way with the faculty and staff of Teachers College to recognize you, our doctoral candidates of the academic year 2017. We now charge you to go forth from this mighty cathedral and to use your new degrees and all of the learning that you've acquired at Teachers College to go forth and make a mighty difference in our land and in our world. Please join us after these ceremonies in the Russell Courtyard of Teachers College for light refreshments. And I ask the friends and family of our graduates to remain in your seats until all of our graduates have departed. Thank you very, very much.